Bien, vamos a estudiar un poco acerca de los adjetivos y vamos a ver sus formas comparativas y superlativas. Nuestra agenda será Remembering Adjectives, Comparative Adjectives, Equality Adjectives, and Superlative Adjectives. Let's start remembering the concept or the meaning of adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe nouns, people, animals, or things. We have some examples here. We have the word beautiful, smart, happy, and thin. And then we have some sentences so you can check it. For example, we have my sister is beautiful. Jose is smart. I am a happy person and Peter is thin. All these examples, we are using adjectives with them. So that's normal. You learn all the adjectives and then you can start describing people, animals, or things. But in this case, we're going to check the degree of the adjective. That means that we're going to check the main use of comparatives and superlatives. So let's start. Comparatives. The main use is comparatives are used to compare two things and to highlight the superiority, inferiority, or equality of one term compared to another. In the case of superlative, we're going to say that for comparison in larger groups, you must use the superlative. The superlative designates extremes, for example, the best, the first, the worst, the last, etc. But let's go part by part. Let's start with the comparatives and superlatives. Okay, we have the degree of superiority, and we have to remember the rules. For example, the first rule is if the adjective ends in y, the y becomes I, and we add er. We have the example heavy, heavier. Another example will be happy, happier, angry, angrier. Rule number 2, it says if the adjective ends in e, we only add the consonant r. Example, wise, wiser, cute, cuter. If the adjective ends with single vowel plus consonant, the consonant is doubled and then we add er. For example, big, you have consonant, vowel, consonant, then you double the last consonant and then you add er. Big, bigger, hot, hotter, like that. When we have long adjectives or three syllable adjectives or more adjectives, we have to add the word more before the adjective. For example, beautiful, beautiful, because we have three syllables there. So then we have to say more beautiful. Something very important is to remember the word than, because you are comparing. So you can say smaller than, thinner than, wiser than, happier than, heavier than, like that. In the case of more, we have one example, more expensive. And some very common adjectives have irregular comparatives, for example, good, better, bad, worse, and far, farther, like that. Um, the normal thing in adjective is to add er, right? That it's the most basic rule. For example, small, smaller, tall, taller, and that's it. That's the way comparatives are. Then you can pick two things and start comparing. For example, you can say, my phone is more expensive than your phone. My house is more beautiful than your house. Um, my my cat is fatter than your cat. And then you can start comparing things, saying that one thing is higher than the other. In the case of superlative, we're gonna use this exact same rules, but in this case we have to add the word the and the adjective, with the difference that now we have to add the word st, est, or iest. The rules are the same, but instead of adding er or ier, we're gonna add est or iest according to the rule. For example, heavy, the heaviest, right? Wiser, the wisest. Um, in the case of the word more, we use most, the most expensive. And of course, we have the irregular form that goes like good, the best, bad, the worst, and far, the farthest. That's it. For equality adjectives, we are going to use this expression as, adjective as. English is as easy as German. And then in the that happens only in the comparative. In the superiority, in the superlative, sorry, it doesn't exist. So let's check this out. Equality. We use the words as, adjective as. Example: as expensive as tall as pretty as. My shirt is as expensive as your shirt. It means it has the same price. Chocolate is as delicious as coffee. English is as easy as French. It's not true. French is more difficult. But just an example. So you can compare two things, saying both are equal using the word as, adjective as. So my house is as big as your house. My cell phone is as expensive as your cell phone, and that's it. When we use the word or the negation not, that is not equality, but it's a negative form and you can use it. For example, my house isn't as big as your house. I'm saying that my house maybe is smaller than your house. That's why we are using the negative. My house isn't as big as your house. My phone isn't as expensive as yours. And something very important to remember is that when you use as, adjective as, the adjective is in its normal form and you don't change the adjective. For example, you say beautiful, so as beautiful happy as, as intelligent as. That's it. That's the way we use equality adjectives. Then we can have some practice. I am just gonna leave this for some moments so you can pause the video and do it. This is practice for comparative, sorry. Basic examples. After this you can do this practice of superlative, basic examples as well. And at the end we're going to have the equality, right? That it's something new. And we're going to use as, adjective as. For example, dogs are as intelligent as rabbits. Okay, that's it. I hope you can check this video and review the comparative and superlatives and this new one that is the equality. Bye bye.